Shout out to audience member of mine, Ty Jones, who tuned me on to this statement made on the Kind of Funny podcast. There's a lot of context here, but he was kind enough to give me the sweet and low down of the timestamp. I'll play what this gentleman says here. I don't think you're going to need a lot of context for it, but by any means, if you do need context, please come watch this episode. They're talking about the different platform holders and talking about who's going to basically do better. In fact, the question kind of stemmed off from how they see the gaming industry in the next 10 years and so on and so forth. I think kicked off around the 10-minute mark. And then here we are at the culmination of some of the responses. Hear what is said here.
When it decided to be completely underpowered, like that was a choice strategically. But I think that this generation that we're currently in of the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch, like each one of them were clearly going down different paths. And I feel like Xbox kind of fumbled down the path in a bunch of ways, but found the direction. And where they're going down now, it's like, yeah, I think this is going to really pay off for them. And I think that they're going to, in terms of sales, absolutely crush. I think it's cheating because they just bought everybody, and yeah, that's how that works. But like,
they're absolutely gonna crush. And then the thing that he said is, I think it's cheating because they just bought everybody. I don't know this gentleman. I only know Greg is the only one that I know in here in terms of, you know, who he is. I got nothing against you, sir, but none of y'all called it cheating when PlayStation was blocking games from going to Xbox. None of y'all called it competing when Xbox wouldn't do the same. In fact, you said you wanted Xbox to compete and do the exact same corrupt tactic, which they did in the 360 days, and some maybe in the Xbox One days. I remember when I was on PlayStation 4 and Rise of the Tomb Raider came out, and I could not play it because there was an exclusivity deal. And apparently Xbox sank $100 million or so into that deal to keep it away from PlayStation for a time frame. And I cussed Xbox out. So why would I want Xbox to have followed that particular paradigm? And why would I not talk about Xbox doing what is more consumer friendly? I have to say, it appears that these people have been either hiding or supporting some kind of a corrupt practice that is anti-consumer. They may not even know that they're doing it inadvertently. Was it competing when PlayStation was busy signing exclusivity perks for Call of Duty, and Activision getting to the point where they got bold enough to walk up to Xbox and say, we're going to take it off of here if you don't give us a bigger share? So it's cheating when they buy everything, but it's not cheating when they get locked out of everything. Are y'all following the logic? Are you guys following what's going on here? Because I can't emphasize enough how perhaps this stuff has been going on for a number of years. I just got here. Y'all need to basically give me the orientation as to what's going on. Let me listen a little more.
I do think that they are easily going to be like the biggest publisher.
So then I want to bring this question in.
They already are.
Because I think it's tied to this, right? But I wrote down, what are the rankings of the first parties in 2035? Because my bold thing to say right here, a decade out, being Mr. PlayStation and loving my PlayStation so much, I think they're in third place. And I know that we're talking it's a very hard conversation, because now you're saying, well, what metric of success are we talking about, right? Where I think so many of us right now in 2025 would be like, man, PlayStation won this generation. When it's like, well, no, Nintendo, they went a different direction, and like number of units sold and mindshare kicked the shit out of PlayStation, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like not what we think of. We think of the AAA box. This is what we're going for, where Nintendo isn't playing that game. Xbox lost so badly last generation that they stopped playing that game and made a big deal this generation of, we're not playing that game anymore. I think in 10 years, based on what we're seeing right now in the Xbox PlayStation race, I think Xbox has set themselves up so well to be the most successful between Xbox and PlayStation.
This is not news. I mean, I'm happy that maybe they came back to, getting to this perspective, but this isn't news. In fact, till today, there are people who are asking me, what games does Xbox have? In fact, I saw a comment just the other hour or so. Someone said Xbox hasn't had a good game in so many years. And I said, man, I would love to respond to y'all, but you guys keep pretending like you're sleeping, as if to say that these games are not getting bought by the droves on PlayStation. Why would I want to sit here and even have this argument? When these games were not available on PlayStation, a lot of folk had the audacity to say what it is that they want. Now I don't have to say anything. I just got to fire up the PlayStation Store and show them the top games that are being launched. Straight up. Straight up. I'm literally just sitting here and just watching people talk about, oh, Xbox, in the longest time hasn't had a good game. Okay, then what are these people, right? What are these people doing? What are these people actually doing buying these Xbox games? Right? And so at the end of the day, I'm, really, really confused as to now how the gaming press has woken up and how they still categorize the fact that Xbox decided to play a different game and are winning as cheating. They bought everything. Yet the reason, or one reason, they were in the exact place they are, and that was said to y'all on the Kind of Funny podcast, that Xbox had lost the console war. It was on the Kind of Funny podcast that Phil Spencer said it. Or I remember at least this gentleman here that's over here on the third. I remember him being in that video where he said that they lost the console war. He was there, right? And Phil Spencer said, partly because PlayStation makes it hard for us to be Xbox. So they're very well endowed with the information as to what's going on. All of this talk from back and forth, and all this stuff, you see others detractors of Xbox. See, I'm telling you, you really have to come to terms with the reality that PlayStation has basically prioritized the wrong thing. In fact, the opportunity PlayStation had was to be building IP at the end of the PS4 generation to increase their own personal PlayStation library, because the wild cards are the third-party devs. You don't really know what it is that they're going to go ahead and do. You don't know what their publisher is going to go ahead and demand. And so they're not necessarily guaranteed to basically play your game. Plus, there's an entire ecosystem called PC where third-party publishers are winning if they just apply themselves. So you look at Pearl Abyss. Pearl Abyss came out and basically stated it, that they turned down an exclusivity deal that prevented them from launching on Xbox. So do you mean to tell me that this is not cheating? I call it what it is. It is absolutely anti-consumer, unethical, both from the third-party developers themselves and the platform holder who choose this path forward, and it's bad for gamers. And so far, so good. We're seeing it because the moment this Space Marine game got announced and there was no PlayStation, it was such a jarring feeling for the PlayStation user base on Twitter that you could see them basically agree to all the arguments I've been making on exclusivity inadvertently. A part of their brain switched on. It's weird because these people know the truth. They've just basically decided that they're going to go ahead and suppress it. So once the reality slapped them in the face, that part of their brain finally switched on and they decided to want to go ahead and point it out. And I think many of them had to backtrack or stay quiet because they really understand and know now that they've argued themselves and built an ethos into a corner that's not going to let them out so easily. Ladies and gentlemen, you did not need people in Kind of Funny to come to the conclusion that you came to, or to come to, the aspect of this whole conversation where we are. Nope. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Thanks for watching the video. Talk to me in the comment section. Peace out.